the cities of sin. In the Jordan Valley, where the Dead Sea lies today, 5 prosperous but utterly corrupt cities stood: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela. Among them, Sodom and Gomorrah were the most infamous, where sin was not only tolerated but celebrated with feasts of blood and depravity. Violence, idolatry, and, above all, extreme sexual perversion. The term sodomy originates here, were the order of the day. God decided that the cry of his victims demanded justice. Before destroying them, God revealed it to Abraham, his faithful servant, who negotiated with him. Will you destroy the righteous along with the wicked? And if there are 50 righteous? Or 10? Genesis 18 verses 23 to 32. God promised to spare the cities if he found even 10 innocent people. But there weren't any. The night that shook Sodom. 2 angels arrived in Sodom in the form of young men. Lot, Abraham's nephew, hosted them in his house, but soon an enraged mob surrounded the dwelling. Hand those men over to us so that we may know them. Genesis 19 verse 5. The term know here was a euphemism for a forced group orgy. Lot, desperate, offered his 2 virgin daughters, a morally questionable act, but the mob wanted blood. The angels blinded the attackers and gave the final order: run away with your family. Run away with your family. Don't look back. Don't look back. The sulfur holocaust. At dawn, God rained fire and brimstone from the heavens. Genesis 19 verse 24. It was not a simple fire, it was a chemical apocalypse. The ground opened up, the underground bitumen exploded, and the cities were reduced to ashes in minutes. Lot's wife, disobeying, looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. The unexpected miracle. After the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham and Sarah wandered through arid lands, bearing the weight of an unfulfilled divine promise, an heir. Sarah, now old and barren, watched in pain as the years passed without her womb blooming. In a moment of desperation, Abraham came to repudiate her, believing that God had abandoned him. But then, on a golden-hued sunset, the 3 angels appeared under the oak of Mamre. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" they asked. "There, in the tent," replied Abraham, unaware that, behind the canvas, Sarah was listening and laughing skeptically. "I will return to you at the appointed time, and Sarah will have a son," announced the heavenly messenger. And so it was. Sarah, with her 90-year-old body rejuvenated by divine grace, gave birth to Isaac, whose name meant laughter, because God had turned her mockery into joy. Isaac, the son of the promise. Isaac grew up as a bright and wise child, loved not only by his parents but by the entire village. He learned the sciences of the Chaldeans, the language of the stars, and the kindness that only a chosen heart could possess. His mere existence was a walking miracle, a reminder that God fulfills the impossible. But then, the order that froze the blood. One night, while Abraham was praying under a starry sky, the voice of God echoed in his chest. "Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. There you will offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will tell you about. Genesis 22 verse 2. Abraham collapsed. His hands trembled like leaves in the wind. How could the God of the promise ask him to destroy his own son? Was this the reward for his faithfulness? But there was no explanation. Just silence and obedience. The journey to the mountain of terror. At dawn, Abraham set out with Isaac and 2 servants. For 3 days of marching, each step towards Moriah was an agony. Isaac, innocent, carried the wood for the sacrifice. Abraham, the knife and the fire. Father, we have the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Asked Isaac clearly. Abraham stifled a groan. His words fell like stones. God will provide the lamb, my son. But in his eyes, Isaac saw the truth. The altar of pain. At the top of the mountain, Abraham built the altar with bleeding stones. To this day, Jewish tradition says that the rocks of Moriah cry. He tied Isaac with ropes, but the boy did not resist. His gaze was not one of fear, but of a faith that transcended the soul. Father, if this is the will of God, I accept it. The knife glinted in the sun. Abraham raised his arm, and in that instant, the scream that stopped the world. Abraham! Abraham! Shouted the angel from heaven. Don't reach out your hand over the boy. Abraham trembled. Through tears, he saw a ram tangled in a nearby thicket. God had provided. The sacrifice was completed with the animal, but the true Holocaust had been Abraham's heart, broken, obedient, and faithful. The legacy of silence. Isaac never spoke of that day, but he carried the marks of the ropes on his wrists into old age. Sarah died shortly after, they say, from the shock of learning what almost happened. The Jewish people remembered this trial as the moment when Abraham chose God above all, even above the love of a father.